Well, three of us have kids, and one of us is about to get married. So we're very unique when it comes to partners for a talent management org. So there's, of course, we have understanding of that. But we are officially live. Hello, everybody. We are the
Hey.
founders of Stealth Talent. Um, we all believe in building in public. And through that, we're going to start going live every Friday at around this time to give you updates about the industry and what we're doing over at Stealth. So I think that it's worthwhile to do just a round robin introduction to start. I'm Phil Rant. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Stealth Talent. We are a talent representation organization focused on building companies around creators. We believe that early stage startups need creators to help them go to 0 to 1 faster. We believe that creators need to build more stable infrastructure around themselves so they're not as brand deal dependent. And we believe ultimately what's good for the world is being able to give control of the future of company building into the hands of the builders and creators themselves. Katarina, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, I'm Katarina. I've been in this space for about 10 years, managing talent. Something that's always just been really important to me is not only creator equality, but also overall helping talent build businesses. So when Phil came to me with this idea, everything just aligned and made sense, and I'm so happy to be here.
I love it. Brian, do you want to jump in?
Sure, I'm Brian Foster. I met Phil way back when in 2012 at a little company called Fullscreen. Since Fullscreen, I've been at several agencies handling a lot of integrated marketing, specifically around influencers. I've been a talent manager for the last 12 years as well, with a small roster. My roster is growing now since starting at Stealth, but as a co-founder at Stealth, we kind of play a lot of roles, one of them being primarily sales for me, working with bigger brands and other partnerships, as well as managing our talent, representing them in the space, trying to get them better brand deals, better distribution deals, et cetera, and syndication, and then also to help build companies around them because as I'm sure all of us can agree, creators only have a short time span. We want to make sure we're capitalizing on that, similar to athletes, and we want to make sure that they are set up for the future.
Absolutely. I love that. And last but certainly not least, our co-head of talent, Kasha Turek. Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yes, hi everyone. I'm Kasha. Like Phil mentioned, co-founder and co-head of talent here at Stealth. Super excited to be here. I've been in the industry not as long as all of these sharks, but I've been here for about 6 years. I originally started in only the brand partnership side of things and also working in campaign side on the gaming front. And so now expanding more into the entertainment, also still in the gaming niche, and just working with a ton of different talent, mostly helping them grow into other expertise that they want to work in. And the main thing is, yes, creators create content, but at the end of the day, it's their business and it's their dreams that I can help kind of make and flourish. And yeah.
I love that. Yes, this is absolutely the Avengers of the creator economy, which I couldn't be more excited about. Um, well, let's get into some of the things that people are talking about this week. Because I know that we've had, as we talk to a lot of early stage founders, creators, platforms, there's one big announcement that was really glaring to me that came out this week, which is on TubeFilter, they announced that YouTube is now paying out more money for shorts, not per view, but
No,
for shorts creators en masse than they are for long form creators.
it's an
Do you think
important that's an important point to make.
very important? Yes, you're not going to be making $3 CPMS with shorts. You're going to be spending, but still volume, right? But I would love to hear everybody's take, especially since so many of you represent short form content creators.
I mean, I'll start. One of my creators, specifically Ivan McCombs, started on TikTok. So the short form was his like primary way of creating content. Moving it over to short seemed like an kind of a no-brainer to syndicate that content. However, he's not seeing anywhere near what he would have assumed to be like great numbers. I mean, I think he has something close to 500 million views on his shorts, but I don't think he's seen much in terms of return. It's great to know that creators are getting paid for that kind of stuff. I think one of the things that we saw was traffic sources for shorts, and sometimes those can be not so much from your fans, but from outside web sources, which not necessarily helps you grow as a creator. So sometimes those views could be a little inflated and they're not really your audience. So I think that that might be somewhat of the issue there. But again, great to see that money is being spent. I just wish maybe per view or per on a CPM basis, we could get a little bit of a better rate.
Would be nice. Would be nice. And I know, Kasha, you've got Fryboy on your roster, who's just insane TikTok views. So I imagine this has got to be pretty transformative to him to know that the monetization's getting there.
I mean, definitely. I think in the sense of what TikTok is all about and Instagram, I think YouTube's kind of coming in hot to try to compete. But, you know, YouTube has always been the main platform that everybody wants to go on. And so I think that now they're really pushing in the short form again, because obviously they did really push shorts in, I don't know, what was it, a year, 2 years ago? The fact that now they're really pushing it again, it is going to be very interesting on the front of, yes, the Fryboys of the world, of how well that could do on that platform rather than on TikTok, where he naturally gets millions of views, how that could work and how it could, you know, help him in the long run of his growth.
Absolutely. And Katarina, what really interests me about your roster when it comes to short forms, you've got short form people who, let's say, are super brand relevant, like your car creators. I mean, that's got to be pretty interesting that they can finally monetize in this way.
Yeah, so it's interesting because when I first started in the industry, that was when Musical.ly was a thing. And I remember meeting people who were reps at Musical.ly and being like, this is never gonna have the shock value that YouTube's gonna have, like, keep trying. And 2020 happened and like TikTok took over the world, and I very quickly, like, I don't mind standing corrected for anything, especially for things like this. And it's fascinating because I have like so many creators, they literally start out on short form, and then the day that they hit 100K on Instagram, I'm like, cool, make a long form video on YouTube. And they always wonder like why that's the method. But if you have 100,000 people that have built a dedicated audience and you have like a 10% engagement rate over there, getting them transitioned to short form on YouTube is going to be extremely successful. But Instagram formulas as well as TikTok formulas are different than Reels formulas, and not Reels, Shorts formulas. The other thing with Reels that I find, or Shorts that I find super interesting, is just the way that it's kind of like, basically you're supposed to upload it on your phone and then go live on your
Right.
computer to be successful. So there's like
Different
very
habits.
traditional YouTube roots, but then also at the same time, like nothing that a creator who's on Instagram or TikTok is used to, because they're used to just
Right.
quick uploading. So,
Right.
and they
Do you,
they probably edited it on CapCut is the other thing.
do you guys find it wild that we were going from, and Phil, I'm sure you understand this, we were going from taking YouTubers and then introducing them to this whole social media short form side, and now we're completely reversing our education for like, okay, now you need to expand. It's almost like more challenging to try to expand a piece of content than to truncate it down into a shorter form. It's actually pretty difficult to, you know, kind of add on more. You know, you can't really add, you can always take away.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
think
it's.
it.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead,
Sorry, go
Katarina.
ahead. Sorry, just really quick. I think another thing with creators that's interesting is TikTok does give like instant gratification, and so does Reels in a way,
Yeah.
where they work so
Dopamine.
hard on a YouTube video for like 20, 30 minutes, and then they're so upset because it goes live and it gets like 1,000 views. And to me, I'm like, that's great. Look at how long people are watching your video for. Like, people are really dedicated, but they don't see it the same. I've had a creator transition fully over to YouTube, and she like loves it now because it fully pays her bills. But like it took her 6 months to be like, I actually enjoy this.
6 months is a short period of time, to be honest.
It is,
Really
yeah.
fast. It
Yeah.
strikes me that I think there was always this idea in the brand market that time spent equals impact. If somebody watches a video for an hour, then that means that there's going to be a more impactful imprint in their brain than if they watch something for 10 seconds. But that's not how I experience life. Like, if you see a car hit another car, that might happen all within 1 second. And you're going to tell everyone about that for the rest of the day because that was a crazy moment that just happened. if I listen to a 1 hour college lecture from a professor that could not be more boring, and I have to be there, and I'm like, oh, or I'm background watching, or I'm on my phone the whole time, I got way more impact from that 1 second of watching that car hit than the other side. So I think that there is a brand opportunity. I just think that it goes back to brands have to be more clever. Like, how do you imprint on the
Right.
minds of the person watching you? How do you make a commercial impactful in 5 seconds instead of 30 seconds? If more people oriented that way, they would save a heck of a lot of money.
Right.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm very excited for it. I mean, naturally, I work very closely with Collins and Devin Key. They just did a Microsoft Copilot video. They worked their butts off on it for 6 days. It came out great. It's going to hit 5 million views very soon, which is awesome. But they were really focused on moment by moment, big storytelling within it. It starts with buying a turtle with AI in a pet store in a remote control car, and ends with hawks flying in, and it's all
Yeah.
about just impact within the short, and that's got to have value.
It's
I
also
think too, though-
formatting, right? I remember for a long time I had spent some time at Jelly Smack. Part of the strategy there for Facebook was to show the ending first and to show the big impactful moment first and then go into the storyline. It was almost backwards thinking, kind of Tarantino-esque thinking, you know, the big inciting incident and then going backwards to kind of see how it all finalized. So I guess it's a bunch of different strategies.
Yeah, very Law and Order SVU, right? The cold open is always the most shocking murder ever, and then they're like, "Let's see what's happening with this whole shocking murder." You know?
Yeah, kind of James Gunn and Superman, right? This
There we go.
Superman drops from the sky, and then they're like, "What the heck happened to Superman?" You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it starts with first time ever that Superman lost. That's an awesome way to start anything.
Yeah, that's how you
know?
start. Yeah.
Yeah. Part and parcel, though, to the whole short form boom that's happening in terms of monetization is the clipping boom, which, let's be honest, we're recording this as a 1 hour live. We're going to clip the heck out of it, and we're going to put it up on short form platforms. But I'd love to hear thoughts about all of the new clipping platforms. Mr. Beast just launched one. Everyone before was using WAP, but now that's more of a self-serve, and now there's all of these other platforms. Like, how do you think that changes content strategy?
I mean, in my opinion, I think that having clipping allows you to kind of free form a little bit more in your long form and live, specifically long form, the longest of forms, I'd say. So you can kind of riff, you can be yourself, you can really take some time and then, you know, allow there to be several moments that you might have missed as like a human being. You might have missed these really cool beats that you hit during your live that you can create as social to really drive more viewers to your next live or your next piece of long form. It just gives you so many more options as an editor to have kind of an assistant there picking out those moments for you.
I work with a lot of small creators that are up and comers, and clipping is huge for them, especially because their main platform that they do very well on is live streaming on Twitch. And so just right away, I just kept pitching, like, you need to find a good clipping software to help you, because then you won't have to focus so much on the little editing and taking so much time out of just streaming to be able to post shorts and have more engagement on other platforms. And it's been a game changer. And I've seen so many creators just this past few months now explode more on the TikTok and Instagram side, just because they incorporated some software to help with the clipping, and it's changed the game for sure.
Absolutely. I feel like clipping has been something that's been necessary for a long time. And I feel like, at least on my end, I worked with a lot of musicians in the past in the music industry. And if it wasn't for clipping, a lot of artists that we listen to today would not have the viral effect that they have now. So it's interesting because I remember clipping being very popular 5-6 years ago with gamers, and to be honest, like, it's always going to be a thing in the gaming space, especially when you're posting focusing on short form content. Personally, I prefer clients to create like a long form video and then clip like 3 videos out of that. If they're not someone who's like a gamer's a little different, where you're probably going to make like 30 clips out of your one long form video, or maybe even 100. But there's, different shock factors for everything. And I think every industry has their need for clipping. I'm just surprised that clipping companies didn't become more popular sooner.
I think it's great for brands too, from a brand perspective, to be able to, and from a reporting perspective as an agency to a brand, to be able to say, hey, you got these great numbers and you write them down in text, but then you can show them a real piece of footage that was clipped, because there was this moment of engagement, this moment of excitement. I know we work with a lot of partners that that clipping is based on chat activity or things that are exciting or things that are said by the creator. And it's like, if you say your brand and that CTA and that goes off in chat, that's a bigger moment to me for a brand to see the cool factor than even just like a really successful CPM or CPV by the end of the campaign or ROI. It's like, now they can share that internally amongst some of their leadership, and I know leadership loves those really cool assets, right, to share amongst the company. Yeah.
Yeah, clipping was huge in 2011 and 2012 in gaming. They just called it trick shots, right?
Yeah.
Like FaZe
That's how they
Clan
started.
started as clippers, right?
Yeah, it was the
Yes,
Call of
they
Duty
put
people.
100%. They put EDM music behind it and they strung it out, but a lot of it was just, there was also 15-second, 20-second YouTube videos of just spinning around and they wouldn't even put music behind it. And Katarina, I could not agree with you more. This is something that's always been there. It was like another one of those like worst kept secrets in digital, where it's like, of course, like we've been watching podcast clips and stand-up clips since the second Vine started become hugely viral on these platforms. And what is a stand-up clip but just clipping of a 1 hour stand-up? So it always makes me wonder when I see something like this explode, what else is something that is in plain sight that all of us insiders know, that they just have to put like a little product around, or one Forbes article, or, one case study out there where suddenly everyone goes, hey, have you heard about this thing? Like, have you heard about Meta trial reels? And then everybody's minds explode, even though we're like, well, yeah, they've been around a long time,
It was funny. I had someone who was a channel manager ask me if I heard of A/B testing, and I was like, "That's been around for like 15 years in the marketing space.
Forever.
What do you mean if I heard about?"
Yeah,
that's
been
like
around in the billboard space since like the beginning of signage.
I'd say this is the Don Draper kind of stuff here. A/B testing. Let's try this one. Let's try this one.
Don Draper with two different easels saying which one is better.
Which one would you like? Yeah, exactly.
Totally. Oh, I love that. But I do feel like it has opened my eyes to this other thing of like, what are the other things that people don't know that are obvious to us? And I've tried to change my pitches a little bit as we're talking to brands right now around some of those things, like trial reels, cost per result marketing. Even we're working closely with the Streamly people and OpenAri, where it's contextual marketing, where based on what's happening within the live stream or what people are saying on live stream, that something can pop up. Like, I think that these are things that we take for granted, that a lot of people on our side of the industry are like, well, of course you can do that. But if you tell that to the right person at Publicis or WPP, or even on the brand side, it might go, oh my God, we could do that. Take my money,
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. I love that. Well, one more thing on the news before we get into some of our self-talent things. So, and actually leads into it well, but there's a lot more talk about creator brand building, creator equity. There's been a lot of recent announcements around the MrBeast clipping company, and a billion people are like the Hailey Bieber Rhode Beauty sellout at Sephora with their biggest opening ever. And then there was another article that was released this week where they actually publicly put in the breakdown of their P&L for Rhode, which I thought was brilliant, because what they were really doing was flexing on how cheap their marketing expenses were, which is exactly our thesis as Stealth Talent. So yeah, we don't represent Hailey Bieber, but we could right-sized around that. So I would just love your thoughts in terms of like where we were when we did our first meeting on this company 3 months ago, and to where it is now based on all of these news articles. I mean, I would happily start on that, which is, man, does it give me a short form way to pitch this to brands who otherwise really struggled. I used to say that Stealth Talent is the Ryan Reynolds story, where he was able to buy into Mint Mobile, use his charm and showing up in the commercials to make it cool and to accelerate the growth. And then the company sells for over $1 billion and he walks away with hundreds of millions of dollars. And he made more money with that than all of his movie career combined, right?
And if
The
you look
right
at,
size of that
sorry.
is the version of what we're doing. No, by all means, go Katarina.
Sorry, if you look at like alcohol brands too that are attached to a celebrity's name,
For sure.
Casamigos, it's weird because Casamigos was started by George Clooney, which it actually wasn't. He just bought the brand. And then over the last 10 years, it's really like, maintained relevance, and it got bought out by a company, I think for like $1 billion or very, very close to it.
I think you're right. I think it was a
818.
billion.
Yeah. 818 tequila with the Jenner sisters is another one that I think is a great example. That brand 818 has been around for a really long time. They just repackaged it. Even if you look at like Kylie Cosmetics and ColourPop, they're not the same company, but like 40% of it is kind of like one-to-one. If you buy, and I know Phil and Brian won't be doing this anytime soon, but if you buy a lipstick product from Kylie and then you buy the same lipstick product from ColourPop, you'll notice that, like scientifically, it's very, very similar. I've been to the ColourPop headquarters, and like we've had this conversation too many years ago, which I thought was super fun. But as far as like their insight on what Kylie does, they don't have that, but they gave her like the secrets as to what, products to use and what makes their makeup good.
I think a bigger challenge that's kind of shown itself, and we were talking about this before, Phil and team, like about at the beginning, we were like, what company is going to be into this? What are they going to be interested in trading equity for influence, more or less? And now we're like, well, we might have too many companies now that are raising their hands, and it's more of an education for the creators to get them out of that transactional brand deal mindset and to think more long term. And I think that's I think where we're going to see the most challenges coming up in the new year.
I think it'll be really easy for our creators that are already doing affiliate marketing of sorts, but I think for
Yes.
creators who are used to the like consistent 1 to 5 brand deals a month, it's going to be very hard for them to jump out of that mindset. So I have some creators that are making 7 figures a year off of brand deals, and I'm like, that's great, but in 5 years when brand deals don't exist anymore and the market is affiliate links again, what are we doing? And I think a lot of creators don't realize that they're closer to working a 9 to 5 if they're not properly utilizing their resources than they think. And I've seen it happen. Cooking with Kaya is a great example of that. So I don't know.
Yeah, no.
I mean, just to add to that, in the sense of from the creator's perspective, I at TwitchCon the other week, pitching Stealth and telling them what we're all about. They didn't even think that something like that is possible. Being like, I could do that, and I'm like, why couldn't you do that? You know what I mean? And so it's the fact that like we can help creators get there to something they didn't even think about, just being like, oh, I thought it was just brand deals and me just posting this, and it's like, no, like let's step out of the box. You have so many potentials and so many possibilities that people didn't even think was possible. And then we already, since then, I mean, myself, for one, a creator, we had that call being like, we're interested in starting this makeup line. Like there's so many things being like, you don't even think it's possible.
Yeah, what strikes me is everybody wants to do influencer marketing on the brand side because they read about it all the time. And all creators want is better outcomes, right? That I'm making this content anyways. I like making content. I want the outcome of being rich, being famous, having fun, name it. But oftentimes the tactics are yada, yada, yada over, right? We assume that all creators went to business school just because they're famous. Not true. We imagine that all brands really understand creators because the whole world talks about it so much. Not true. What I think that they don't realize is that part of making deals is saying, all right, what am I going to give and what am I going to get? And
Right.
if what you're getting is equity, which is highly illiquid, it's not like you can go out and spend equity easier, but there's a reason why people who are rich, why Warren Buffett and Elon Musk and everybody else is investing into companies rather than just going out and buying Lambos and mansions, is because investing gives you better long-term outcomes as long as you're right sizing it. So yeah, I feel like that story is starting to hit. People are starting to understand it, but I feel like we are acting as educators a lot more than I thought we would be to the market. I thought that there would be some people who got it and some people that didn't. We could just run. And instead, I find myself taking 2 meetings, 3 meetings, 4 meetings, just to kind of get people mentally across the line of how this works.
Mm-hmm.
I think now's a great time talking to Stealth Talent, though, since we're at about the halfway point. I know that everybody's been grinding for the past few months, and like we're texting each other early in the morning, we're texting each other late at night. Like this has been a heck of a build. I'd love to just hear about some things that you're proud of that you've been working on. I'm happy to start. If we, yeah, I mean,
Phil, I think you should kick it off, and then I got you.
yeah, totally. No, I love it. I love it. I know when I always hate it on panels when everybody asks open-ended questions because it's so awkward to know the politeness in terms of jumping in. We have been building a relationship with Microsoft, especially on their AI side, and their awesome agencies, Poster Child, Fresh Tape Media, and also Collins and Devin Key, who they think of themselves very much like a digital marketing agency when it comes down to it. They're very smart about how they price and their point of view and how to feed into a brand's needs. And we were fortunate enough to be able to find a relationship that worked between Microsoft's Copilot launch of Miko, their new kind of like AI Clippy style thing, which is exceptionally cute and everyone should check it out. And Collins Key's TikTok and Instagram Reels, where he's doing incredible views. They had 6 days to put together a video. It was very, very fast, but they rallied. They were able to find a grocery store that they could rent out and bring in an actor and get a script together and special effects. They launched it and it just did gangbusters numbers, great engagement. You know, doing a you know, it's going to be closing on 5 million views very soon video in 6 days from, hey, we're going to do this all the way to execution with that high of an end. Production is difficult, and it takes a very special creator and a very special brand to be able to put in enough faith to do it quickly. And frankly, a very special agency in between. So Poster Child and Fresh Tape Media, they knocked it out of the park in terms of responsiveness. So I would say that's a heck of a win, and it's also a testament to the market wanting something where it's a little bit more, it's not just here's a bunch of rate cards and here's a bunch of talent, let's go, but want to lean in more on creative and reliable outcomes and pricing intelligence. And I think that that's where we can add something really special to the market.
Absolutely. I think it's very interesting seeing how much we've done in such a short amount of time as far as stealth goes, but the talent that we work with is all really amazing. I think, like, honestly, Kasha with Fryboy, Brian with Cozy Ivan, you with Devin and Collins, like, working with all of these creators is fascinating because I think everybody just works at like a different speed. Currently with Paper Eats, we've been kind of like talking in the background of what to get started with her and like how to do everything. She's really focused on posting once a week for the rest of the year. I think like having those hiccups as creators typically like do throughout the year kind of gets them in that like rebuild and grind mode. So she's fully ready to, you know, go full speed ahead. And I think that that's super great. And I think that us just working with her is, you know, something that most agencies wouldn't do. I feel like a lot of agencies are very like, oh, okay, you're not churning money. All right, you got to go. So I think it says
we're the
something.
inbounds, right?
Yeah, yeah. And we care as well as we still will actively pitch talent even during their break time and like disclose, hey, they're on break right now, but they will be back during this time if you want to activate with them. And I think that that's super meaningful. And it sets us apart as well.
Yeah, I think I've worked with so many management companies that say they were managers, but I feel like we're actually doing the managing here. The examples I could bring up, I'm Cozy Ivan. He was not always Cozy Ivan. At one point in time, he was the Ramen King Ivan, and that's how he kind of got his start, and he was doing gangbusters as that character. However, that's changed. He wanted to change that whole vibe, that whole look, and that whole feel of his channel. So right now we're kind of in a rebuilding period for him. So we're working on a few things, distribution being one of them, to try to find some lost money that might have been on the table for him for other platforms like Facebook, Spotify, etc. In addition, getting him on TikTok Shop. I feel like Ivan can sell basically anything with his content. It's fun, it's impactful, and we just got to get him started doing affiliate stuff, because I think that that will be the future for a creator like him. In addition to that, I'm kind of older in the industry, so it was kind of hard to take on like a younger creator that was building. But Riley Stupid Recipes is a younger creator. However, I must have caught him at a good time, because he's on this verge of 100K followers on all platforms across all platforms. I'm sorry, 500K across all platforms, but at least 100 on each platform. He's getting bigger brand deals already. We were able to secure him his first multi-$1,000 deal. He's never had a deal over $400 previously to working with us. So we're actually getting we're actually managing and negotiating what he's worth. And he's always, thank you so much for bringing me this money. It's like, no, this is what you were worth. It's just a matter of having someone representing you in the space to say that and to justify that, and to be able to come up with something defensible to make sure that happens. That's where we're at. I'm very proud of both of those creators. And then Emergency Awesome, he's the best of the best in pop culture punditry. I think he is absolutely one of the greatest creators he's one of the greatest humans I've ever talked to. And he just continues to roll 2 to 3 brand deals, like you're saying, Katarina, a month. He's very automatic, very good to work with, right on time with stuff, and it's just the professionalism across all of our roster I think I'm really impressed with.
Yeah, and then on my end, I mean, coming into this, I was strictly the gaming manager. And so it was, very eye-opening to work with all the creators that I do work with. I really want to highlight Zesty Bestie. He's currently also going through a little bit of a rebrand, but I am just so impressed and proud of him, of how much he kind of does really hold his own and is really sticking to what he believes in. And he's like, no, this is my content. This is what I want to grow in. How can you help me do that? And he is just so amazing in his community. His engagement is amazing. He's all over Twitch, TikTok, and now just growing more and trying to really focus in on the YouTube long forward side. He is just such a personality. So it's like, okay, how do we take all of these different niches and really mold it into who you want to be? And I just see such a huge future for him. It's incredible. Being with him at TwitchCon really opened my eyes, because it was so many people and so many brands being like, I know you. And he's like, what?
But
like,
you're
I
much
don't,
taller in person.
Yeah.
And he's so tall. He's so tall. But he is just probably the most ambitious and just eye-opening person ever. Like, I absolutely love working with him. I want to work with him for the rest of my life. He's amazing. But he is just a very good example of like who he wants to be, and being like, okay, here are the brands I want to work with. And it's taking that one step ahead and being like, okay, how do we work with these people? Or what do we do to really mold you and expand your content? So that's currently what we're working on. And since starting Stealth, we've already seen so much change and growth, which is amazing. But again, I did start in the gaming side of things. So it was strictly the Twitch streamers and a little bit of the YouTube gamers. And from where I started in the industry 6 years ago now, the way it is now, it's completely different. And so I think doing Stealth and being like, okay, what am I doing here? I had to kind of change my mindset of like, okay, what is shifting? And it's TikTok, and TikTok has changed the game tremendously. And so now the fact that I do get to work with somebody like Fryboy, who is a performer and an entertainer, it is completely different than anything I've ever done. But he is so ambitious as well. And he's like, also like, I want to tap into the fashion and the beauty side of things. And it's like, okay, how do we take this person who brands have no idea what to do with? They're just like, oh, he has 2.5 million TikTok followers and has insane views and engagement. What do we do with this? And so it's now the work in progress of like, okay, what are we doing? And now already he has so many ideas of things that he wants to do and evolve in. And I would not doubt that he's going to become somebody huge and big. And obviously, I don't want to say too much of things that we want to work on, but you know, I have huge potential. He has huge potential to be somebody amazing. But already, you know, brands have come and being like, I want to work with him. What are we going to do? We'll figure it out. And so it's these conversations that we're having. And now that on my end, I'm evolving my mindset and really seeing what TikTok can do and what Instagram can do and YouTube can do. And I do have a little bit of imposter syndrome because I came from just managing gamers and only giving them brand deals. And now it's like, now I'm managing these people and being like, how do we change, you know, you just being a content creator and being like, here are my dreams. It's like, no, how do we make these dreams reality? Because at the end of the day, it is your business. It's what you want to do. And how can I help you do that? I'm not going to do it. You're going to do it. But how can I help you do it? And if I have to hold your hand, I'll hold your hand. If you need a push, I'll push you. And I think that's the most rewarding thing now being at Stealth and just how much that has grown and evolved. And yeah, we're only 4 or 5 months in, and so much has changed and blossomed already. So
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, as of even less than 4 months, right?
Yeah.
Since we even had our first meeting, which is crazy. But one thing, you should never have imposter syndrome, Kasha, because you're awesome. Everybody's here for a reason, right? But what I think strikes me so much is that everybody on this call has people on their roster whose per video views are absolutely nuts, right? Like Fryboy's per video views are absolutely nuts. Ivan's per video views are absolutely nuts. Paper Eats' per video views are absolutely nuts. I'm working with Legendary J and it's Andrews. Their per video views are absolutely nuts. And every time you're getting one of those views, all I see is potential. Like you're getting a view. What do you leave behind in the viewer's mind? And we're in an FYP world. A lot of it just kind of washes over you and you leave nothing in their mind. But if you're able to just nail in on that one thing you want to leave behind in somebody else's mind, like, oh, I aspire to be as good of an editor as Legendary J, or as like funny and performative as It's Andrews, or as creative and as Paper Eats, or let's face it, as incredibly good looking and idiosyncratic as Fryboy, right? Or Ivan even just being on camera dynamic, like he is so visually dynamic to watch on screen. Like if you can just kind of like capture that and then figure out what to do with that bottled energy, that's really the secret of what all creators should be looking for, especially in short form. There is my rant about short form for the day.
Absolutely. I think one thing that's like also sets us apart just on my end and being observant, one thing that I always said to my creators when I was at Disrupt Management was like, how do we get you from where you're at right now, signing with Disrupt Management, to having your own business in 5 years to where you can choose to walk away and it's not going to break your bank. You could just retire and no one ever sees you again if that's what you want, if that's your desire. Like, how do we get you to that point? And I think at Stealth, like, we're really actually implementing that. I didn't have the resources at Disrupt, but we have it now, and it's so comforting to know that, because I know I can like get creators to where they want to be to actually live their dreams.
I think in addition to that, one of the cool things that we've kind of come up with as a team is that we're not really know people. We're not yes people by any means, but we're not know people. We're a figure it out kind of team. And if we can't do it, we probably know someone that does, and we're okay to just forward you over to that number or that email just to get that done. And we're not looking for a commission split or anything on things. We just want to help out and help all the ships rise, I think that's really great for us.
That's actually an awesome segue into one of the big things that actually we're launching officially today, which is our community program. We've got our first talent going live we're helping out with the passes, fanfics, Patreon, everything else of the world, in terms of how do you find your superfan communities, how do you make sure that you're giving them added value and that they're participating in revenue for that added value. Very time intensive, very strategic. So luckily we've got somebody great heading that up, Connor Burgess, who a lot of us have worked with in the past and who has experience at Playboy and just very experienced in the whole kind of superfan platform side. But we've got our first talent launching today on that front. And we've got, another 4 or 5 that are going to be launching pretty soon, I believe. I would love to hear everybody's thoughts in terms of superfan platforms and segmentation. I could certainly start in terms of, I've done this now on the superfan side for God, 5 years, essentially, like COVID kind of forced, when I was at We Are Verified at that time, us into thinking like, okay, let's really figure out this side, because COVID, like, people are going to go crazy if we don't start figuring out new monetization structures. Very quickly, we started working with creators who never made $100,000 a year in their life to making $100,000 a month. And the power of it is just exceptional. And no, these are not people who are getting nude on OnlyFans. These are people who are like feeding their audience in the right way with the right sized offering. So I just think that it's a killer market, and I still think a lot of people are sleeping on it, but I would love to hear more thoughts.
This is new to me, so I'm gonna let you guys take this one. This is a whole new world for me outside of some of the other careers. I came from gaming and I came from entertainment, so that was all brand deals and sponsorships and integrations. So this is all new to me.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of community in general. I've had a creator previously who came to me at Studio 71 and told me that he wanted to build this car, which was basically like in his dreams since he was 14 years old. He's super into rotary motors, and that's just like been his passion. So his first car from when he was 16, he built into a race car. How do we do that? Like at the time, he was only making $2,500 a month on YouTube. And I said, leave Studio 71. So sorry, guys. I don't think that their ads are really like helping you that much. And so when it came time, he left. We kind of started building out a plan of, what's our plan of action from here? How do we take over? Something that I had been like buttering him up towards at the time was Patreon. I thought that Patreon would be an amazing idea because he has all these dedicated people at the time who were like looking and commenting, and they would just say his name and just leave comments on Facebook and different platforms that he wasn't even on, being like, oh yeah, he's never going to get his car built or whatever. And any type of sentiment is taken as positive sentiment at this time in the industry, so that didn't really affect him. We ended up figuring out what tiers to charge, how to roll this out. The top tier required a 12-month commitment, but you got to do a ride along within the car once it was finally built. And there was 100 people that signed up for that, and there was still like all the other tiers were completely open. So he ended up basically, I believe, making $400,000 within the first 2 months of launching his Patreon, which helped build the car, which helped us roll it into SEMA 2019. The car didn't start for SEMA, so I was on the phone with Lisa last month doing like a prep run with all of the talent that are going to SEMA this year, and she was like, I don't want to be rolling people's cars in, so just wait until you're ready. And literally, like, we fully had to roll the car in with all like 20 of us into the SEMA show floor. So it was worth it though, is the point. And now he's done Pikes Peak, I think 3 or 4 times, which is one of the most like revered races of all time in America. So it's fascinating to watch how he went from like a hobbyist to a full-time like race car driver. He's also on one of the top gears now, and it's awesome to see.
Very cool.
Unbelievable.
I would say I'm also very new to the space. But I'm gonna shout this out a little bit. When I was in high school and I was just a little girl watching YouTube all the time, all my favorite creators were on Patreon. And I was like, I want to see what they're posting over there. Like, what are they posting? And I never did it. But now being older and like listening to podcasts and things like that, a lot of talent are saying, hey, go, here's behind the scenes, here's this on my Patreon, on my passes, whatever it may be. And it is so smart, and it is amazing for people who just like dabble in little things, and then it's like some topic that somebody may be talking about and being like, oh, we touched more into this topic on my Patreon, go check it out. And then it's like, okay, that's such an easy sell. But for any creator who is all over the scene of things that they're doing in the sense of like entertainment, and any behind the scenes that they may be posting on some other platform, what an easy sell. Like somebody who is obsessed with a creator and being like, oh my gosh, I want to watch these people 24/7. How amazing. And so I didn't realize how big it actually is until this past year. And at TwitchCon, they had a passes booth. So I was like, okay, clearly, like, it's around, it's popular. So I'm excited. I think there is so much potential for even more creators who might be hesitant, especially because of like what the name might entail of like, oh, they're posting X, Y, and Z content. It's like, no, like there's so much more that you could be doing and so much potential for more money. And so it's just getting them on there and really seeing what people can do. I think it's it's a money grab. It's great. It's great for them.
Yeah, and I want to highlight one point that you made, which is if you're if you're a woman and you're doing a private community, everyone thinks, oh, OnlyFans, right?
Yeah.
That's total. I think the perception on that is changing, but it definitely is like a battle. I think it's a cultural battle that has to be made. If somebody is a female chef with a large audience and she starts a passes account or a fanfics account, there will be a subset of audience that goes, ooh, they're going to be taking spicy videos and putting on, and maybe
Right.
spicy in the food way, but not spicy in a spicy way, right? Um, but there is, I think that perception is changing because of all of these new platforms that are coming out that are monetizing well, that are not OnlyFans. Not no shade to OnlyFans. What they do is great, and they do have
Sure.
chefs and fitness people
Yeah.
and stuff on OnlyFans. It's just in the audience's mind when they hear OnlyFans, they think of a specific thing. And I
Right.
think that when somebody hears, especially something like Patreon, that is not, when I hear Patreon, just because of I'm a 43-year-old man, I think podcasts, right? Because
Right.
like
Right.
I have Patreon subscriptions to maybe 6 of my favorite podcasts. I listen to podcasts a lot, and it's worth it for me for my 2 to 4 bonus odes a month and ad-free versions of my favorite episodes, right?
Yeah.
So whatever is that kind of right-sized offering to your super fan base, totally, it's a great way to do things. Also, what I think is interesting, which I'd love to hear takes on, is all the stuff that's kind of building around that. Like, who is also at TwitchCon? Throne was there, which is a really brilliant wish listing group. To a certain extent, Twitch itself was always built on subscriptions and donations, which are kind of like super fan feeding. But they're also launching a lot of new technologies around that, especially with extensions. Like we talked to a soundboard company that did like the ability to do kind of like paid soundboards for
I think Zesty Bestie works with them.
Zesty Bestie works with them. That's where I saw his, and I was like, that couldn't be him. He's so tall.
Yeah.
But that's where we saw him at that booth. But yeah, I think that the ecosystem around super fandom is also changing.
100%.
I mean, I think
Yeah.
in
I
general,
think
TwitchCon was an eye opener for me, seeing everybody that was there. I mean, although the passes was just its own little booth, but seeing some of the bigger brands there, and finally non-endemics are like, hey, let's get down. Who do we see? Milk.
Yeah, milk, like the
Milk.
white liquidy stuff.
Milk.
Like, milk. Got milk.
'Cause I even asked you, Phil, when we were walking around, I'm like, is that like a new influencer marketing company? You know, Milk? No, that's milk for
literally
the cows.
got
Yeah.
milk. Yeah.
Yes. State Farm Insurance.
And it wasn't
Huge.
they weren't just a booth at the activation. These were
Yeah.
full-on interactive activations with
Yeah.
the step and repeat and the photo op and the selfie stations. And I believe Milk ran the entire Twitch Rivals stage, which is a massive footprint on that floor plan. Yeah.
Yeah.
reminds me of-
you know?
Playlist and VidCon back in, because it's very different now, but back in like 2017, 2018, 2019, all the brands that you never thought would want to work with creators because they didn't take creators seriously just like 6 months to a year before. I remember seeing Axe have like a huge activation at VidCon and just being floored and being like, okay, who is your guys' marketing team? I need to talk to you right now. I need to figure out how to activate something.
Not anymore. That has changed.
Yeah.
I know.
One thing
so
that's really
different.
stuck in my mind from talking about VidCon is in VidCon 2012, it was very sparse. There was not a huge floor, and almost everybody there was like My Damn Channel or Vimeo or like the bigger
Grace.
ones. Grace, yeah. Except for one, which was a gigantic plastic shark in the middle for Shark Week on Discovery Channel. And I'm like, that was 2012. They probably paid 50 grand for that activation on this nobody conference, first year in Anaheim. And I'm like, do you know, whoever worked with the Shark Week marketing team nailed it. They like Shane Dawson was walking the floor that year. The Hank and John Green were just hanging out around this giant shark the whole time. And if only they knew the goodwill they were building for a very small
Yeah.
budget at that time. It blows my mind.
And we were there with the T-shirt table, handing out full screen T-shirts.
Yeah, we couldn't afford a booth, so we just came with T-shirts and like,
That
hey, do
is
you create
amazing.
content? Here's a T-shirt.
I miss those days.
Yeah, those were great. Well, speaking of conferences, everybody has been going to a lot of conferences lately, and I know, Katerina, you're about to ramp up for SEMA, but I'd love to just hear thoughts coming out of the conferences, what you liked, what you didn't like, what you think is interesting coming out of those.
I could start with Vid Summit. I think Vid Summit to me was kind of like how I would want VidCon to be in many ways. While VidCon is very creator and celebrity feeling, or at least it was at one point, it still is, I'm sure. Vid Summit seemed like the place to do business in the creator economy world. People were there with really, really great tech. Opus Clip had a really great presence there, I'd say. Very interactive. Adobe had a really great presence there, and their activation blew me away. As well as, was it Chevy? That had, I mean, they had their top of the line vehicles out there that you could create video around and try to, drum up engagement and win one of those cars or potentially another car, as well as people like creators like Good, who are now these $500 million or $1 billion industries at this point with these really cool, just fun chipping activations, just fun stuff. I believe Phil won a really cool T-shirt. I got some great hats from it, but I thought that Vid Summit really blew me away. I followed that up with YFCon, which originally in my the world that I in marketing, I started in email and direct mail advertising. And what we were doing was working with products that were similar to stuff that you'd see on, QVC or other things that you'd see in like flea markets and like those quick hit, the steamers and all that stuff. YFCon kind of brought me back to that world. It was big brands that were there, but they were all through affiliates trying to promote with, micro creators. But what I found out was like that's a whole section of it there. They also work with bigger creators for influence for regular branded deals and things. So I was learning a lot about how they kind of separate their businesses, and that was really interesting. Made great contacts there, and then we followed that up with TwitchCon. Uscreen Summit first of all, the Uscreen Connect, which was also great. Speaking of community platforms and like how people can make other types of money. Uscreen is an amazing platform. Met some amazing creators that are doing awesome work there. While behind a paywall, they're still doing what they do on their normal YouTube channels and their social media. However, they're giving you more information. They're giving you kind of a master class in what they do. We met with a really cool scrapbooking creator who teaches you how to make scrapbooks. And again, I've mentioned this to you guys. It's not just putting pictures in a book. It's really like creating holistically like the whole feeling of who you're trying to capture in these books, and really was kind of inspiring. And then TwitchCon, I although TwitchCon has some bad vibes around it right now, which is really unfortunate, the security and issues and things. However, I did feel like it was a great show. We met up with some great people like Gaggle. We met up with some really cool creators, very great brands. 2K was there and they had a great party. Really, I'm all about for TwitchCon those rooftop parties that are kind of like off the beaten path and away from the busyness. You can get a lot done there. And yeah, just had a really good time, and I'm glad we got some downtime after that. Those last 2 weeks were pretty rough, but man, so beneficial.
Yeah, and Kasha, was that your first TwitchCon ever, or have you been to other
First
ones?
one ever, yes.
I love it.
So,
What'd you think?
I didn't know what to expect going into it. I've been to VidCon a few years back. It was like right after COVID though, so it was a little, it was rough. But going into TwitchCon this year, I was super excited because obviously some of my creators were going, and we did have a brand activation going on. So I definitely went for work purposes more than fun, but obviously it's all fun. It was amazing, I think, in the sense of how they use, so it was at the San Diego Convention Center, and the way that they used the entire building was honestly mind-blowing to me. I didn't realize that there were 2 floors. I had no idea for the first half day that I was there the first day. So walking the expo was amazing. So many interactive booths, which I thought was really cool, especially for the smaller creators who might only be affiliate streamers and just go just to get the experience and really, meet people. Was amazing for them. Such an easy way to make content, all that stuff. It was great. And then so easy to connect with brands. As I mentioned earlier in this call, but I met up with Zesty Bestie and we kind of just walked the show floor together for a little bit, and just, seeing it from the creator's perspective was honestly so amazing to see, because it was very much like going up to them to have the conversation and being like, and they immediately were like, "Oh, Vinny, Zesty Bestie," and he's like, "Yeah, hi." They already knew him, so that means they're looking out for him. And just being a part of those conversations with him was amazing, because they are very much like, here's kind of what we're working on, here's kind of like what we would want to, who we'd want to work with, type of situation. So it was so fun to see it from that perspective, as well as from the manager perspective. And then figuring out there's a whole second floor, that was insane. But that's besides the point. But I think the biggest thing that was great was, like Brian mentioned, it's like the offsite events were awesome. So going into it, I went to an all women's networking event the first day. So cool just to hear from other women in the industry and their perspective. That's where my imposter syndrome kind of went away a little bit, being like, no, I can do this. Like,
Good.
it's fine.
Good.
And so a lot of creators were there as well, just learning from our perspective of being on this side of the industry, and them learning. And I had a lot of good conversations there. But the day after that, I actually went to a TikTok event, which was insane to say the least, because they were sponsored by Razer and Elgato, and they got full size products of headphones, a Stream Deck, a microphone, a chair. It was absolutely insane. And just because the creators got to attend and they were invited and they got all this stuff. So Vinny walked out with a huge bag of goodies, and I was like, do you want to share?
That's why you show up to those things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it was so cool to meet people directly from TikTok as well. And it was from the gaming side of things. So it's super cool to see from their perspective on how they see gaming evolving on the TikTok side. But not only that, the networking with how many creators were there was absolutely insane. And so just so many creators not knowing things too. Like, they're kind of learning along with everybody. And so I admired how TikTok, the first hour, it was kind of like a learning event where they were teaching people, being like, hey, if you're strictly on the live stream side, here's some tips on how to evolve on the short side, and then vice versa. So it was really cool just to see it from like that perspective of a creator. But, from Vinny's perspective, he's like, I already know how to do all this, but it was beneficial for him because he got to meet the direct team from China. A lot of people came out from China and from headquarters and things like that. So it was super fun, definitely very rewarding, having a lot of good conversations and meeting new creators who maybe will sign soon. So I'm very excited, and just all around it was very rewarding, and definitely excited to go to more events.
Yeah, and the
soon.
swag doesn't hurt. Absolutely. Yeah, and
Yes.
one more I do want to flag is Creator IQ Connect, which I went to. Man, what a cheat code, because it's all brands. Like, the Creator IQ, because it's a platform about analytics and influencer marketing, every table I sat down with was somebody spending money. And that's exceptionally rare in this market. So I left with a pile of LinkedIn connections where I could hit them up and saying, hey, next campaign. And of course, every single one, oh my God, we're in the middle of Q4, so things are crazy. So not right now, but let's chat. And a lot of them were just there to learn about creators. So me being from the talent side, I worked out well. So, but Katarina, I know we only got a couple minutes, but I just want to hear what you're looking forward to with SEMA.
Yeah, absolutely. So for anyone who's not in the automotive space, SEMA is kind of like the Super Bowl for automotive. There's 170,000 people that attend every year, around 1,500 vendors. It goes up and down, and things always are ever changing with it, but it's the largest car show in the world. It's where basically everyone in the automotive space gets together and gets to meet people face to face. Last year, I only went with one creator and netted, or not netted, grossed $200,000. So I'm thinking this year, since I'm going with 8 creators, I can 5
A
or 10
million.
or 15x that. So, so I've basically been like head down this entire week trying to get through A, emails, B, get everyone's schedule set up, and once I get to Vegas, basically no one's gonna hear from me for the entire week. So, but it's a great time. I always look at it where anytime that you get to see people face to face is the cheat code. Like people, get to see that you're a real human outside of emails. I think one thing that the automotive industry does right, but also wrong at the same time, is most of the people that I work with do not answer their emails at all. Everything is like you have to catch them in person and able to get in contact with them. But at the same time, I think that that's like something that has gone completely away since 2020, where COVID really changed like how, we manage everything. We're all working out of our homes right now, which, before COVID, you had to be in an office there at least once a week. There's just so many things that are ever changing in the industry, but I appreciate this like once a week, once a year, where I get to see everybody and get to like actually get FaceTime with people. So I'm super excited for it.
I love it. And we are up at our hour, but we're going to do these every week. I'm so excited and such a pleasure just like getting a chance to chit chat. I mean, I get a lot out of this because I get to sit down with my 3 partners who I love dearly and who are crushing it and just let us like talk about the industry. But hopefully everybody out there who's watching it too gets value. So we will see you next week, but reach out if you need anything from us.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye. Thank you.